So we've talked about the revolution. We talked about energetic navigation. And now we're going to talk about the context. And the context is nature. And this is not just a context in terms of the background of what we're doing, the background of this whole revolution. We are nature. We are nature. And our inherent resonant frequency is in coherence with nature. And our deviation, what we have been doing before, is dissonant with nature. So throughout this change that we're all moving through individually and collectively, we can take a cue from nature. We can take a look. How does nature change? Because that'll teach us how to grow. And remember, all that is breathing. The rhythms of nature are what we are. Everything has this ebb and flow, this inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. You inhale and exhale. And this is like what I'm tracing here. That's like a frequency wave. That's like a sine wave. A little bit about fractals. So fractals are present all over nature. And a key feature, in order for something to express fractally, it needs to have self-similarity. So that's like this little image of a tree here. If we were to break off the branch right here and put this branch down on the ground, this would look like a tree. And then if we break off this branch and put it down in the ground, this looks like a tree. So the parts resemble the whole, and this can keep going. There's like a smaller branch and a smaller branch. So the parts resemble the whole. And so we can learn things about the whole or the parts from different levels of the whole fractal. So we're going to be talking about some cycles in nature so that we can use that information to understand how we can shift and how we can change through this revolutionary shift. The fractal levels of natural change that we're going to be talking about are the solar seasons. So that's summer, winter, etc. The moon phases, waning, waxing, etc. And the menstrual cycle, ovulation, menstruation, etc. So I just want to orient you to this image here. There's a variety of fractals of information here, but like any good fractal, it can represent multiple levels of scale. So this is the winter solstice down here, going through the spring equinox right here, all the way up to the summer solstice right here, through autumn and back down to winter again. So this cycle of change is relevant at all three of these fractal levels of nature. Here's how they all line up. So winter is similar to the new moon, is similar to menstruation. Spring is similar to the waxing moon, is similar to the follicular phase. Summer is similar to the full moon and ovulation. Autumn is similar to the waning moon and the luteal phase. The solar seasons, it's solar because it's the sun and the earth's relationship to the sun is what determines the seasons. And it happens at the phase cycle of a year. And then the moon and menstruation happens at the rate of a month. So you can kind of see in here, I drew in the waxing and the waning of the moon that happens every month. So these monthly cycles, the lunar cycle and the uterine cycle, goes through all four of these seasons at the rate of a month. Right now, we just had the autumnal equinox. So that is right here. The autumnal equinox, this is when the day is the same length as the night. And now that we're just past the equinox, the night is longer than the day. That's where we are in the solar year. And in the lunar month, where we are in the cycle, is right here. If you go outside and you look at the moon, it will look kind of like this. This is exactly the half moon. We are at the autumnal equinox of the month. The autumnal equinox is also called Mabon in some cultures. It's also called the Feast of Ingathering in some cultures. And that's why I'm calling these events the Feast of Ingathering, because we're going to be having them on the waning half moon of every month, because there is something magical in that return to the darkness. There's something magical in that invitation to go within, in that invitation to go into the unknown. I want to leave it mysteriously right there and then get back to it in a moment. But I do want to talk about the astrological context. So a week ago, on the 17th, we had a lunar eclipse. Now, eclipses always happen in pairs. There's always the lunar eclipse, and then 2 weeks later, so on October 2nd, we're going to have the solar eclipse. And these eclipses happen at autumn and in the springtime. And eclipses in several cultures and spiritual traditions, including Vedic astrology, Jyotish, of which I am a student, eclipses are portals of change. They are windows that we step through that invite us to release the old and step into the new. So you get what you're picking up what I'm throwing down here. There's like a lot of energy that's like release the old and like lean into the new. But that's not all, because in Vedic astrology, we're not just looking at the 12 signs of the zodiac. We're also looking at the nakshatras, which is the subsection within the sign. And the subsection of Pisces, also Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It's representative of spiritual liberation. It's representative of completion. And the specific nakshatra that this lunar eclipse was in is Purva Bhadrapada. And Purva Bhadrapada is literally the deathbed. The deathbed. So this is like this portal of transformation that we have stepped through, where it is time for death. It's time to release what no longer works and step into the next eclipse that we're going to have on October 2nd is going to be in the zodiac sign of Virgo, which is an earth sign. And it's in the specific nakshatra of Hasta, which is represented by the hand. So we're releasing all that doesn't work for us. And by our own hands, we bring to earth the new. That's just like a little bit about astrological context. We are learning from multiple fractal levels of nature how change happens, so that we can reflect that change within ourselves, not because we're just huge fans of nature, but because we are nature, and we are being invited and even compelled to undergo some of these same changes that we see at multiple fractal levels that are present right now. We are present with the shifts in nature that are happening, and we are going through our own shift. So the half moon, the energy of a waxing half moon, is not the same thing as the energy of a waning half moon, because a half moon is perfectly balanced. It's a perfect balance of the light and the dark. But a waxing half moon has an increase in masculine, expansive energy and light. It has the energy of springtime. And a waning half moon has the energy of going within, has the energy of release, has the energy of going into the unknown and into the feminine. I think I would like to talk more about the feminine, because this is the turn that we're going into. We are going deeper into the feminine in this phase of the year. Maybe at this phase of the revolution, but certainly this phase of the year. And we also have the invitation to go into this nadir of the month every month from the waning half moon through the new moon to the waxing half moon, we are in the feminine half of the month. And with the turn into the luteal phase, with the turn into autumn, there can be grief, there can be anxiety, discomfort, agitation with the luteal phase. That's like PMS. But a lot of that is because of the disharmony, of dissonance with the context. And the context that we have been in has been patriarchal, capitalistic. It's been a model of perpetual incessant growth, which would be perpetual summertime. And summertime is wonderful. Like the full moon is wonderful. Like masculine energy is wonderful. But nature doesn't work like that. Nature ebbs and flows. Everything in nature is breathing. So we have this opportunity every month, every year, every day, every breath. We have this opportunity to release into absolute silence, to release into the infinite possibility that anything could be born, anything could be born from this nadir, this absolute yin of infinite creation. So the masculine energy, everything has masculine energy and everything has feminine energy. Masculine energy is about analysis. Feminine energy is about synthesis. Masculine energy is an outward expression. Feminine energy is an inward expression. Masculine energy is about exclusion and singularity. Feminine energy is about inclusion and oneness, just like everything is embraced in the arms of death. The revolution requires us to lean into more of this feminine energy, because it's through a feminine energy kind of perception that we can even fathom that we are all one, that we can even begin to accept that everything is interconnected. So in order to lean into our true nature, we need to lean into our feminine nature. And many of the cycles of the year, of the month, are supporting us in leaning into our feminine nature, which is why I really wanted to start these monthly gatherings where every month we're going to be leaning into our feminine nature, because honestly, we're out of practice. Like the world, Western society, at least the culture that I grew up in, is hugely patriarchal, and that lives in me. That's been like a part of my identity. So I need to practice going into that feminine energy. And it's like, it's from that place that the new can be born. It can only be from that place. It can only be from death that the new can be born. So it seems worthwhile to lean into that feminine energy at every yin turn of the month. That's where I'm going to be. I know, it is super cool, right? It is super cool. It's all super cool. And that's why it's called Feasts of Ingathering. And that's what I'm here to practice. And this is what I'm so excited to like be here with you